Today's documentary, Ibn Battuta, The Desert's Ordeal. The sun, a merciless coin of fire, beat down on a barren stretch of earth somewhere between the Indus River and Delhi. There was no movement, save for the shimmer of heat haze. Then, a groan. A man, his rich robes torn and stained with dirt and blood, stirred amidst the rocks and thorny brush. He was alone, abandoned. Every breath was a stab of pain. His money, his gifts, his spare clothes, all gone. Even the party of travelers he trusted had vanished, leaving him for the jackals and the vultures. This was not how the journey was supposed to end. This was Ibn Battuta, the world's greatest traveler, robbed and left for dead. By the year 1334, Abu Abdullah Muhammad ibn Battuta was already a veteran of the road. He had left his home in Morocco in 1325, driven by a pilgrim's zeal for Mecca and an explorer's insatiable hunger for the horizon. For nearly a decade, he had crossed the breadth of the Islamic world, from North Africa to Anatolia, from the Golden Horde steppes to the Swahili coast. His flowing robes and wrapped turban had gathered the dust of a dozen empires. Now, he was heading towards the fabled court of the Sultan of Delhi, Muhammad bin Tughlaq, a ruler known for both his patronage of scholars and his terrifying caprice. The road to that court, however, was a gauntlet of peril. Ibn Battuta had joined a caravan for protection. The bandits of this region were infamous. Yet, danger often wore a familiar face. The exact location is debated, somewhere in the Sindh region or the arid approaches to Delhi, but the event is seared into his chronicles, the Rila. The attack was not a blur, it was a precise, chilling betrayal. The men he traveled with, perhaps seeing the wealth of a well-connected foreign scholar, turned on him. They were not shadowy figures in the night. They were his companions. They assaulted him, beating him senseless. They stripped him of everything, the dinars and dirhams, the fine fabrics intended as presents for a sultan, the very pack animals he rode. Convinced he was dead or soon would be, they fled, leaving the Moroccan traveler broken under the vast, indifferent sky. Consciousness returned slowly, bringing with it a universe of pain. His body was a map of bruises and cuts. Dehydration clawed at his throat. The immense solitude of the landscape was a psychological torture as acute as his physical wounds. Here was a man whose identity was built on motion, on connection, on the exchange of knowledge and courtesies between civilizations. Now he was a static, discarded thing. His faith, the bedrock of his journey, was tested in that searing silence. He would later write of his despair, of praying for deliverance, his scholar's mind grappling with a primal struggle for survival. For hours, perhaps a full day, he lay there, teetering on the edge. But the will that had propelled him from Tangier was not so easily extinguished. Using his staff as a crutch, the ragged figure in the torn robes began to move. Every step was agony. He had no water, no food, no sense of direction but the hope of finding a path or a trace of human settlement. He was walking on sheer determination, his education as a qadi, a judge, offering no practical help against thirst and sunstroke. This was the raw, unfiltered cost of his curiosity. The romantic ideal of travel was stripped away, revealing its brutal core. You could be utterly erased. Yet he walked. He stumbled forward, driven by a deep, instinctual drive to bear witness, to complete his narrative, to see one more city over the next dune. Miraculously, he found a road. Then, the sight of other humans. They were not bandits, but local villagers, or perhaps a smaller, more honest caravan. Seeing this dark-eyed, bearded stranger, near skeletal and bleeding, they took pity. They offered him water, basic sustenance, and directions. The journey back to safety was not instantaneous. It was a slow, painful recovery of strength and resources. He eventually made his way to a town, where his status as a learned Muslim scholar finally began to work in his favor again. He found aid within the network of Islamic hospitality, in madrasas, or with local governors who respected a man of knowledge, even in his destitute state. This ordeal was a turning point, a shadow that would follow him. When he finally reached the magnificent, chaotic court of Sultan Muhammad bin Tughlaq in Delhi, he arrived not as a pristine ambassador, but as a survivor hardened by trauma. The man left for dead did not go home. The robbery, instead of ending his travels, seemed to deepen them. After leaving Delhi, he embarked on even more audacious journeys, to China, to Sumatra, to the Maldives, carrying the memory of that abandonment like a scar and a testament to the unbreakable will to continue the story. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this documentary, please subscribe to our channel. We bring you fascinating documentaries on history, science, civilizations, mysteries, and the untold stories that shaped our world. Hit the subscribe button and the bell icon so you never miss a new release. See you in the next one.